Hey y'all, I hope you're enjoying Distributed 23. I'm Tyler Hilker, VP of Strategy at Crema, and today I'm going to talk to you about a tool that we've used to help product leaders think more deeply about the problems they face every day. We call it the Better Bets Canvas, and it's based on insights found in Andy Duke's book, Thinking in Bets, which you should absolutely go read. The goal of this canvas is to first gain clarity about how we're thinking about the decisions we face, and then to generate ideas for how to improve our likelihood of success. While you can certainly use this mental framework on your own, this exercise is best done with a small group of people that can help you challenge and maybe even add to the ways that you're evaluating your situation. Here is the overall structure. I'll first walk through the flow of the canvas and then provide a couple examples. First, take 2 to 3 minutes to gather all of the decisions, initiatives, projects that are on your mind that are taking up some of your headspace into this section of the canvas. And you might find themes among them, so you can organize them together and maybe even provide a note indicating as such. Next, choose one of these that is especially important, messy, or ambiguous. This bet will be the point of focus for this exercise. Then, in the middle column, capture all of the different factors, rationale, and attributes that influence that bet. At the top, what do you know based on evidence? And next to that note, capture your rationale for that particular aspect. Consider what evidence you have that this decision will play out the way that you think it will. Next, what do you believe based on your experience? Experience and gut are no doubt valuable tools in product leaders making decisions, but they're often insufficient in ways, and we have to learn to be honest about where they belong in the decision-making process. What do you assume based on whatever expectations you have? That is, what do you think, but when you think about it, you haven't really thought about it that much. The difference between belief and assume is seemingly thin, but it's very important. The difference is your exposure to that reality. If you've never been in a particular situation before, kudos to you for stepping out into that new territory, but don't confuse your ability to extrapolate expectations with direct experience or evidence. Lastly, what are the unknowns that you know of in this situation? With a posture of humility, what are the gaps in your understanding of this situation? Areas that you don't have evidence, you don't have experience, and you don't even really have expectations. Now, this isn't likely a linear process. You're going to go back and forth between sections, moving notes all around. And this process is helpful because we tend to rate our confidence higher than we ought to. And so don't be afraid to admit that as much as you want to say something with absolute certainty, you don't have as much evidence as you like. And sometimes we let our confidence in an area outweigh the substance because we're rating our confidence, not our evidence. For instance, you might say that I know conversion rate will increase if we decrease the number of steps in the sign-up process. And you say you know that because conversion will improve because our leading competitor does it this way. And so you need to challenge the evidence that you have. How reliable, accurate, or sufficient is that evidence? Are you willing to risk the success of this project on the validity and sufficiency of that evidence? And so in a group, you might want to ask someone who has put a note like that, how do you really know that? What's different about your competitor, the timing, the implementation, et cetera, that influenced whatever outcome you perceive? And for that matter, do you even know that bet, that what they did improved their conversion rate? Or was it something else? Was it the pricing? Was it the campaigns that led to that? And so with this example, you don't have direct evidence like your users testing your prototype for your bet. And so this is more like a firm belief. And so you bring it down to that next section below. You might also say, well, this worked at my last 2 companies. And so I'm confident it's going to work here. And again, you need to challenge that notion, challenge the evidence, the belief, and the assumption, asking what's different this time? How else can we think about this solution and this problem? And so the next step is to take each of these factors in each of these sections and then identify ways to improve them. So starting from the bottom, for that which you don't know, how can you build deeper awareness of the situation? How can you gain exposure to that reality? For your assumptions, how can you gain experience and familiarity with that situation? And so in a group, how can you ask questions to learn from others' experience? Maybe they've been at that competitor and you can ask them for evidence or their experience. For your beliefs, how can you gather evidence to materialize, modify, or disconfirm that belief? You're not just trying to validate it, you're trying to better understand the decision and everything that went into that decision. And so in a group, you could suggest experiments or reference points for others to explore. And then lastly, for these things that you know that you have strong evidence for, that's reliable, sufficient, et cetera, how do you identify additional unknowns in between those areas that you have evidence for, and then fill in the gaps between them? And so you can see we're sort of moving up this ladder of evidence, trying to gather ways to not just increase our confidence, but to get better information. You might have picked up on it by now, but this Canvas is not an end in itself. This activity is just as much about increasing our ability to evaluate decision factors, identify ways to improve our likelihood of success, and in the end, build better bets. And that's the Better Bets Canvas. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'd love to hear your feedback and how you've used this in your own work. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of Distributed.